Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Feeding Curiosity. In today's episode, I am joined by returning friend and guest, Jordan Criss. And as always, we have a great conversation centered around Jordan's interests, film and TV. That means it's Oscar season, so we dive into the current controversy around the Oscars, mostly with Spider-Man No Way Home not having as many awards as one might expect when it garners over $1 billion at the theaters. From there, I posit a couple ways that we can expand on this idea with possible new awards being brought in to maybe spice it up and give more films a chance at winning an award that matches with audience expectations. This kind of spawns into a more broader conversation around superhero films and what makes a good story. And it was really fun. And this went in a way broader direction than I would have thought. And we also branch into shows and films that we're very much looking forward to this year. And as always, I'll have links to those shows so you can enjoy them at your own pace. And as always, we're looking forward to hearing what you guys have to think about these different ideas, because it's something that we as audiences have control over if we make our opinions known. From there, we expand a little bit toward the end about Euphoria. I really wanted to cover this because I've been seeing a lot of people talking about the show in a negative sense, and the showrunners have come out and said their viewpoints on it. And even with all of that, I was still seeing more negative viewpoints. I will say I haven't watched all of season 2 just yet, but I am very close to being done. And I think the show does a really good job of pushing boundaries and making people think about how complex life is for so many of us. And yes, it is set in high school, so I understand why this would make people upset. But again, I think there is a lot to learn from these kinds of stories, and just trying to pigeonhole it into good or bad defeats the purpose of watching some of these shows. So again, I think we should be looking at these more broadly, and I think we'll do a deep dive on Euphoria, or at least a breakdown of it. So stay tuned for that. And as always, this was a great conversation with Jordan, and I hope you all enjoy. So without further ado, please enjoy this conversation. Back on the podcast, Jordan, we're not doing it. I was just about to say a deep dive, but we're not doing a deep dive.
No, not this time. That's
Feels weird.
Change of
A
pace.
little bit. But yeah, it's been a little while since we've gotten to talk, just kind of catch up on things. So I thought it'd be cool to just get a life update. And there's a lot to talk about when it comes to the world of film right now, and just at a high level. I'm sure you're excited about it, just given all the things you've been working on. So
Yeah.
take it away from there.
Yeah. So life update, just been working a lot. I don't know if this was mentioned on the last podcast we did like this, but I've been working at anonymous content just as a floater. So nothing too prestigious, at least yet. But essentially the way you look at it is it's like the foot in the door into the Hollywood industry and all that stuff. Because it's weird, and you hear this a lot, but it's a smaller industry than you think it is. Like it's super small. And just like being in it, you see how small it is. It's almost like everyone knows everyone. And if they don't know that person, they know someone who does.
Yeah.
So just being there, being around it, and learning the back end of things and what's behind the scenes that casual audiences and stuff have no idea that really goes on. It's really helpful for people on the creative side of things. So it's been a good experience, good networking, meeting a lot of super cool people, just being involved in that side of things. So that's like a work update. It's super exciting.
Super cool.
Yeah. And then it's what's even more cool about that is because, at least for me personally, it being around those kind of people, and not everyone's a writer. Like some people have different ambitions, like they want to be development or like a manager or something like that. But just being around it's super motivating. It makes you want to work more. So like you're off work, and then just being submerged in it all day, you want to keep going. So I've been getting a lot of writing done, probably more than I ever have. I just finished the first draft of my pilot actually a couple of days ago. I think it was Thursday. Today's Saturday. Thursday, I finished it. So super exciting there. Can't wait to see what happens with that. But yeah, it's just cool to be around this whole industry and around these kind of creative types and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's cool. It's we're talking about this right around the Oscar season, so that's another thing I wanted to bring up with you because you've been around the Oscar stuff for a while now and had a different viewpoint than the average person. But this year it felt different, just given the state of the world with the kind of unthawing of the industry with the smash hit that became Spider-Man, breaking through the box office at a $1 billion release, which is unheard of.
Insane. In a pandemic, dude, it's insane.
Like never been done before, and it's just a phenomenal movie on top of that. Like it's a superhero movie, so most people undercut it because they say superhero films are not cinema, and fair criticism to some degree, but I think Spider-Man is different. At least this one in particular is very different because I thought it hit all the emotional notes that you'd expect from a Spider-Man story as a self-proclaimed Spider-Man superfan. Behind me, it's blurry, but literally a cabinet full of Spider-Man action figures, so I think I'm fair to say that.
You have the credentials. Even more than that behind you, you have the tattoo. So like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So like you more so than most people, you have the credits to say what you need to when it comes to Spider-Man.
Yeah, but my point is that if the Oscars this year, they had Dune take away the show with basically winning every award it could possibly win or be nominated for. Not win.
Not yet, at least.
Yeah, not yet. And then if you'd ask an average person, what do you think Spider-Man got nominated for? And I think it's only visual effects,
Yeah.
which is pretty sad in my opinion. I think it deserves at least a couple other things.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's an interesting, fun discussion to have. I think you have some okay, I'm gonna sidebar here. I hate this term, right? It just doesn't sound good to me. But the term is like cinephiles, and I just hate it.
Yeah.
So I call them Cineaholics. Okay, so
Ooh,
because I don't.
there's a cinnamon bun place called Cineaholic near here.
Oh shit! Really?
Yeah, it's freaking awesome, honestly.
Oh, when I'm home, we're going there.
Yeah, yes,
For
we
sure.
are. We are for sure going there.
Oh, that's a sign. Okay, sorry. Just had to point that out.
Totally sidetracked, but
Right,
if you want good cinnamon buns, there's that. But
Cineaholics. Okay,
yes,
for sure. Okay,
I
well,
like Cineaholic though, as from instead of saying Cinephile, like I've heard of that for like audiophile for people who are into like music or like high end audio equipment. You're an
yeah.
audiophile, but yeah, I see your point.
So I hate saying it, but anyway, a Cineaholic, Cinephile, what have you? They look at these like superhero films, not unlike Spider-Man, and they just don't put it in the same category as you can't even really say Dune, but for this year, like Dune or Power of the Dog or these super
Mhm.
cinematic, heavy narrative, thought-provoking films. And it's a fun combo. I don't know confidently where I sit. I think I'm wishy-washy
I
in
was
that.
curious where you would sit because I would my impression of you is that I thought you were gonna lean more heavily into the cinema, hardcore cinema. Like certain stories are just not gonna be Oscar worthy,
Yeah.
almost like an indie film style, where it's this is made for an heart, like puff out your chest and wear the an ascot or something.
And a part of me does. A part of me does think that way. But also I'm like, but if I don't think we can ignore um like the amounts of people and the amount like $1 billion in a pandemic, like the amount of fanfare that happens and it's a family movie and you can have kids all the way to like adults that are super excited and
Yeah,
just what it does as a from a fan service perspective is I don't think that can be overlooked. And I don't think it's any less than any other film. It's just a different genre, right? It's not this super thought-provoking drama. It's just action movie. It's a superhero action movie. It's a different genre. So I don't know. I get it because Spider-Man isn't something, not just Spider-Man, but films like that aren't something that necessarily sits with you once you leave the theater. You see it
yeah,
and it's a spectacle and it's fun and you can talk about it, but it's not something that's gonna you're gonna really ponder on necessarily. But I don't know that you have to for it to be worthy of being the best movie of the year. I don't know that it
right.
has to like make you think or view the world differently for it to be considered the best movie. So I don't know. I get it in a sense because actually I think as I'm talking about it, I think my mind is changing. I think I don't agree with that. I think films like that, if they do it well and they're accessible. So it's the analogy I think of as like pop music versus indie artists or these super like narrative driven albums and stuff like that really innovate or set the trend or something like that. But I don't think there's anything wrong with pop music.
It's almost an art in its own way of like how can it hit a cross section of people so widely that it garners a platinum album. I'm not sure how many sales a platinum album is, but it's a lot. It gets millions. And I think for me, and I heard this recently from, so there's a VFX studio on YouTube called Corridor Crew. I've shared a couple of their videos and shared a couple of their examples, and I was listening to them on a podcast and they brought this up. One of the guys was saying that why don't we have a different award, right? Maybe if it's not categorically best picture, could you create a new award and call it best blockbuster? Because that's certifiably what this is. Maybe it's not in the category of like best picture from a cinema, from like the cinematic thing, because in some sense, what you were saying is that Spider-Man or these Marvel films are readaptations of the same models and themes and the same DNA, but just told in different ways, and it elaborates over time. So maybe that's why it doesn't make the cut as an original idea. And I could see that there. But if it generates this much buzz and can break through a pandemic, all things considered, I think it should be worthy of something.
It should be recognized. It
Yeah.
deserves recognition for that feat because it's not easy. Because if it was, everyone would do it. Like everyone who doesn't want their film to garner $1 billion in however
Mhm.
long. It hasn't been out that long, even still.
And I would say too that the studios behind this film believed in it enough to make it only go to theaters. Almost every other film except for that one has done like the hybrid release where it's been both in theaters and on a streaming platform. And that wasn't the case here, which I think that says something too.
Yeah, because they knew what they had. They
Yeah.
knew they had something special, and I think that's where my mind is changing because it is these films, these super, hero films and, like, Marvel and Disney, whatever, they are very formulaic. They follow the 3 act structure almost to a T. That in a way, if you strip it down, if you take away all the fancy bits, it becomes the same thing, right?
Yeah.
The same movie. But to do that to that level, to execute to that level is very hard to do. To make it that entertaining, and for everyone that's seen Spider-Man in theaters, especially, like, opening weekend, the feeling in the audience was electric. Like, you don't get that
Oh yeah.
all the time, if at all, ever. You know what I mean? I can't remember the last time in a theater I felt that kind of energy.
There's a point where when they first had Andrew Garfield and Toby come on screen, the
Spoiler alert.
entire yeah. Spoiler alert, do we have to say it now? It's been like 3 months.
Sure.
But like the crowd literally clapped for both of them appearing on screen. I can't tell you the last time where it was an experience to be in the theater and just be like, "Oh yeah, everyone's just in it right now." Like
Such
that
a
suspension of disbelief, I guess.
Yeah, it's such a cool that was one of the coolest things ever. I was like, "Wow, everyone's, like, in this together," and it's, like, the fan service, and it's not done in a tacky way. Like, that scene when they first show up was hilarious on top of it. Holy shit, they actually did it. Like, they actually brought them back. The level of surprise and marketing. There was a lot of things that they executed perfectly. Like, they teased it a little bit. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but, like, the rumor got out that, "Oh, Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire are gonna be in it." And then if they immediately turn around and say, "No, we're not in it. Nope, we have nothing to do with this. You can't find them
I
in the
know the
credits
fact
or
that it
anything like
didn't
that."
get leaked somehow. Can you believe that?
Dude, good everyone that worked on it, because there's a lot of people who worked on it, but everyone who worked on it and knew and kept their mouth shut, good props to you because how easy would it be to just be at, like, Thanksgiving or something and just casually slip, "Oh, I worked on Spider-Man, and guess who's in it?" Like, "Oh, shit, wait, no, don't tell anyone." You know what I mean? Like, to not slip on something that big,
Yeah,
pretty impressive, but
100%.
it's just it really is something that deserves recognition in a way, and I think that is a really good idea for the block to have a separate category,
Because then
like
it put
best blockbuster.
yeah, because it narrows the scope to the big films that break through to that level of performance, and it makes it accessible for those films that are more mainstream.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it does, and it's I don't know, the argument, I feel like it's and I don't wanna say the word snob because I feel like that's too malicious or too harsh, but just these people, like, you have these filmmakers who really have created, like, masterpieces of work,
Right.
thought-provoking. It's like the Mona Lisa of film, these very intricate and awesome pieces of work, and then they're looking at these superhero movies and they're like, yeah, this doesn't amount to ours. And in a way, they're correct, but also their films don't amount to what these superhero movies are doing, right? People are getting so excited for them, but they're coming out in troves in a pandemic, dude. That just, I feel like if you can wrap your head around that alone, that's
Mhm.
fucking impressive. And that speaks to where audiences are, because just a few months before that, I think it was Ridley Scott released a movie. I can't remember the name of it, but it was like The Last Duel, I think. Yeah, The Last
Yeah,
Duel.
The Last Duel. I've heard that's a
And
really good film, by the way.
I heard it. I haven't seen it yet, but I heard it's amazing. But it didn't do as well as they thought it would do in theaters. And so I know he had his issues with that, and he was blaming people and said their interest isn't there and blah 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 and all that stuff. And surprisingly enough, I think it's Disney. I think that's a Disney film,
Interesting.
um, which is interesting. So they're kind of I feel like they went out of the box than they usually do, at least for that one. But
Yeah.
um, it's just I feel like you can't ignore what audiences are into, right? Like The Power of the Dog is probably my favorite film of the year and my leading candidate to win Best Picture, but most people I talk to haven't seen it.
Yeah.
And maybe some are like, "Yeah, I'll see it eventually, maybe," and others are like, "Eh, not my cup of tea."
It's
But most people I talked to saw Spider-Man. I just feel like that shouldn't be ignored, you know?
absolutely. It's 'cause especially too, because it felt like was surprised. So I ended up actually seeing the film, I think, like the Thursday opener, like right after work kind of
Oh,
thing.
you went like night 1, yeah.
Yeah, I went day one because I knew I wanted to see it that bad for one thing. And I didn't want to get spoiled because the internet, like now everything within the first 48 hours of a film releasing, someone makes a meme and you're like, now I know how this ends. You know what I mean?
That
So
happened to me with Endgame. Sorry to cut you off. That happened to me with Endgame. The freaking hour before I went to go fucking see the movie, dude. I'm just looking through Instagram. Had nothing to do with fucking Endgame, dude. And someone put Tony Stark dies, and I'm like, dude, I'm like, I made it this far. Sorry to cut you off. Continue.
hilarious, but my point exactly. So I just wanted to see it early so that I could just get it out of the way and experience it as unfiltered and raw and just be in the emotion of it. Cause I saw it by myself too. I didn't wait for anyone to go see it with me. Like it was just, I literally got out of work early and then I went straight to the theater that day. And it was like one of those things that I was totally cool with. I knew I was going to go see it again with my dad too. So it was just like one of those experiences that I was there for the story. And what I thought was really good about it, which is interesting that I would have this criticism, but initially, like this version of Spider-Man didn't feel very much like Spider-Man to me. They tried to make him slightly different, but then it was like by the end of this one, it was like, okay, cool. They regrounded the character, and now it's yep, he's Spider-Man for real. Like by the end of it, and I was like, cool. I can be 100% behind this character now, or at least this version of Spider-Man. It was almost like they took all of the lessons from really the past 20 years of Spider-Man films and said, okay, we've learned, and here's the direction we're going in the future. And I also think Sony paid attention to how well the game that was released in 2018 was received. And I
Yeah.
think that played a role into their decision making and how to end this chapter of the Spider-Man story they want to tell on film. Which is
Yeah.
interesting that a game can influence a film at this point.
Yeah, you gotta pay attention. I feel like it's good, and it gives me hope in terms of where these studios are going and how they're picking what stories to tell, what they want to pick
Mhm.
up, or which direction they want to go. Because it seems like they're starting to pay attention and value the opinions of the people who are purchasing the product, which to
Absolutely,
me
yeah.
makes the most sense. But a lot of times you'll have these studios or movie makers think they're smarter than the audience and be like,
Mhm.
no, we're not going to do that. We're going to do this the right way or our way or whatever. And that's all fine and good. You're right. Like, cool, more power to you. And maybe sometimes they're correct. But in this sense, and something with this, like Spider-Man, for example, all this history it has, like, when was Spider-Man first brought up? You probably know this. I don't know off the top of my head. In the 50s? Is it that old?
I
In
think
the 80s?
so, yes. I think 1963, Spider-Man first comic. 1962.
62. So,
I
I
was
mean,
off
that
by a year, wow.
I know you're right there, dude. That's pretty impressive. But that's a lot of history, man. That
Oh,
for
for sure.
and how many deviations of the character. People know what they want, and there's probably people out there who know more about this than some of the studio heads running the show now.
Almost guaranteed at this point.
because they know every storyline. They know all the. I don't. I'm not that big into the comic book universe stuff, but all the multiverse stuff, like I didn't know that was a thing before the movies. I didn't know that was a concept already thought of. So it's just I feel like they nailed it with this, and it gives me hope that moving forward we're going to see more of this. I'm personally super excited for the new Doctor Strange. I think that's going to be
Oh, it looks
insane.
really good.
Yeah, dude, I'm hyped. And but it's made me I feel like last time we talked about these Marvel movies, we were saying like, "Oh, it seems like they're like where is the story going?
Yeah.
What's going to happen next?" I feel like after seeing Spider-Man, I'm like, all my skepticism is out the window. You know what I mean? I'm like, they're fine. They know what they're doing.
Yeah,
So,
that's a good point, honestly. Like, I was a little skeptical about some of the other releases, like the Black Widow and the Eternals. Like, they're not objectively bad films; they're just not great films. You know what I mean? But yeah, just seeing the direction they're taking with Spider-Man being this most recent adaptation, or further spacing themselves away from the Endgame Avengers category, it really feels like they have either a new group of creators who are not trying to just rehash the same thing and be like, all right, what's Avengers 2.0 look like?
right,
Because that's the easy thing to do with these kinds of massive universe spanning stories. It's okay, this worked before, so how do we do that a little bit better? And to
right,
me, it seems like they're just saying, okay, we'll just throw away everything and say, okay, how do we want to tell these next batch of stories?
right. Which is the right way to go? Because if you do the former where you try to do Avengers super, they're gonna fail. You're
Yeah,
gonna set
you're
yourself
right.
up to fail that way because you're not gonna reach those expectations of what Captain America, Tony Stark, Thor, like those characters, especially the actors portraying them, they nailed it. It was like when Civil War dropped, dude, it was like a divisive thing. Like it was like, whose team are you on?
Yeah, right.
Which super dope marketing and like super good timing wise. But you can't recreate that and then exceed that. It existed in the moment that it did, and it exists there, and it's special to us for what it meant at the time that it came out. You're not gonna redo that. You can't just say, "Let's just put now it's Spider-Man versus fucking Ant-Man or something." We're not
Yeah, right.
it's not gonna feel the same, and that's not a discredit to Tom Holland or, Paul Rudd or anything like that. It's just we've seen it before, and we loved it so much, it's not gonna top that.
Absolutely.
So I don't know, man. It's the Oscars. I personally love them for what they are. I know a lot of people are critical, but I do think if the Oscars want to start gaining popularity back, because I feel like as the years goes on, more and more people become more and more uninterested, and to get people to come back to it and pay attention is to make it known that you're paying attention to what they like. And
Yeah,
Spider-Man was probably number one on that list. Now, with that being said, I am happy that Dune got as many nominations as it got.
agreed.
Because I
I'm not
felt
upset at that at all.
yeah, and I feel like that was a perfect marriage between not superhero, but, like, spectacle and cinema.
Yeah.
Um, so, yeah, we'll see where it goes. I'm excited for
Oh my
the
god.
Batman film. I It's coming out at a weird time, so I don't know if it'll make next year's Oscar cut.
Oscars. When does it release?
I think March 4th, I think is
It is March 4th.
yeah. Dude,
Wow.
I'm so excited for that movie. I am.
I mean, after the trailers came out for that, the most recent batch of trailers, I was like, oh. Again, this is going back to the idea of knowing your source material. Like, Batman has had a couple of iterations throughout history of his character. He's always either been like a detective, and then you had the Nolan version, which was the Dark Knight, the key word being their knight. And then it
Mhm.
seems like this version of Batman is closer to the vengeance style of the character, who's more of like revenge and like doing things to criminals that they do to other people, basically. Which is really interesting that you could take a character and have so many different iterations of the same archetype, which is crazy.
Yeah. It's super cool because it allows so many different interpretations, right? Like, any storyteller can look at it and say, "Oh, but what about this? We never" and also with
Mhm.
that, I like how and we need to thank Nolan. I don't think people thank Christopher Nolan enough for what he did for superhero movies. The dude is a film genius and a master storyteller, but to like, the older versions of Batman were very lighthearted, almost comical.
They're the initial version of all this stuff with like pow, where they
Yeah.
basically took the source material of the comic books, because like how do you initially add action to like still frames, well, you have to put pow there, or it's rudimentary to us nowadays because we know how to like draw this stuff at way higher level of immersion.
Right.
But yeah, it's the elementary style of, okay, how do we adapt this to the screen? And you have a guy wearing underpants on the outside of his leggings.
Yeah, it just looks like cartoonish, like the penguin. I think it was Danny DeVito played, who is a hilarious person, but,
I mean, it
like,
still blows
having
my mind that Mr. Freeze was played by Arnold.
yeah, man, and that was not a
What
good
was it?
movie.
George Clooney was Batman before all this too.
Yeah, I think it was Clooney was in that one, and then I think Jim Carrey was the Riddler, if I remember that right.
Yes, yes, he was.
Yeah, but man, it was just like it was I don't wanna say they were a joke, but I don't think the films took themselves seriously enough, and I think it was because of just, projecting my
Spitballing.
thought on it well, and this might be absolutely incorrect, but I feel like it was because they didn't want people to think they were taking it too seriously. So they're like, let's just have fun with it. But then it becomes like a caricature of itself. So when Nolan comes around, he's no, let's take this, find out what is this story really saying? What are the themes and what can hang with people? And how can we pull on that and make this like a cinematic experience? And then you get Batman Begins, and I still think that's the best movie out of the 3, like, in terms of just actual movie. I think that was the best movie. I think Dark Knight was the best performances. Heath Ledger was just
Yeah.
mind-blowing. The best antagonist and, battles and stuff like that, and that back and forth, like, who you rooting for, Batman's losing, and, just it's like a sense of dread almost in
Oh
that movie.
yeah. The
Um
stakes in the second one was, you could feel it. And it was like a teeter totters where it goes from who has the upper hand and you're like, oh no, oh no. Like you're
Right.
never like on solid ground ever.
You can't get comfortable. But I think just what he did for these movies, and now we look however many years later, I don't even remember when those came out, 2012 maybe it was Dark
Around, I think it was around
Knight?
there, yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe
something like
11.
that. Yeah, but now we have this, like, super and I'm so excited. This is, like, super dark, even darker than The Dark Knight.
I know,
Um,
which is crazy to say.
yeah, like, it's, like, almost like emo. It's like a emo version of Batman, and I think in the interview, Robert Pattinson was even saying that's what it is. Like, this is like a Bruce, like a not professional, like Bruce Wayne isn't like this perfectionist and he's still figuring things out and he's a failure almost. And he's just like an
Oh,
emo.
interesting.
Yeah. If I should have looked up the interview before this, but
I'll see if I can find the interview. That sounds really, or if you can send me the link to it, I'll make sure there's a link for it in the show notes.
yeah, yeah. So just where they're going with it, I'm super excited. I don't know, man. I like where these are going because they're taking these IPs that are old and maybe comical or lighthearted and stuff like that, but like pulling at the heart of it and saying, what can we teach people about the world or about how things function, but through superheroes, which are super, you know what I mean? Like it's you have to have
Yeah.
your suspension of disbelief there. It's not there's nobody wearing a bat suit running around outside.
Right. Yeah.
Not yet. Not yet. We'll see.
One day we might. Who knows?
You never know, man.
Taking these characters that were once seen as child type figures, things you watch on cartoons, to like now it's like we can tell really adult stories through these characters, and we can take them seriously enough, or at least have enough of a suspension of disbelief to not look at them and be like, oh god, roll your eyes, here we go. You know what I mean? And maybe that's just a sign of the times, right? Because it's like all these people grew up, these characters have been with us for almost 100 years, and sometimes for at least Superman is almost 100 years. But I think 1932 is Superman.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy. Sorry. That's crazy.
Yeah. More tangents. I wasn't
Yeah.
expecting this episode to be like superhero fun fact day,
But it is. It just happens, you know.
but it is. And it's, you have these characters that people have just been around with long enough, and it's just they start out as children's toys slash ideas and stories. And then all those people grow up, and then they show them that they're kids and they take them a little bit more seriously. And they show them that they're kids and they take them a little bit more seriously. And now here we are 2 generations later, and now they've just become part of the cultural backdrop.
Yeah.
And I think that's cool. It's exciting to think about what's next for these characters. And it doesn't have to be like these versions of these characters, but there's going to be a new character coming that'll eclipse some of these guys and be like the next version of them, whatever
Yeah.
that ends up being.
Yeah. And I've been actually thinking about that because I wonder if kids, and I think they are, because maybe more so Marvel and DC, because I feel like a lot of the DC movies are a little darker. So like
Yes.
a 5-year-old isn't gonna want to like necessarily go see Batman. It might be like too scary, even though it's not scary. But like for a 5-year-old, some of the clown stuff might be
Oh
like,
yeah,
all
I
right.
didn't think about that, but you're definitely
Um,
right about that.
yeah, and who knows? But I feel like more like Spider-Man's a little more accessible to that demographic, right?
Yeah.
But I wonder if it does continue to go down like the Zack Snyder kind of darkness that DC has with Justice League and stuff. And now that I'm probably wrong here, but what I was thinking is superhero, they like, as they're growing, it's growing with us, and it's the taste is more for our age group or around our age group. So I was wondering really what do kids look at the way we looked at Batman when we were young, when we were
Yeah.
5 years old and we like loved Batman and Superman and all that stuff. What are they looking to? Is it the same thing or has something taken its place? And I was thinking that it might be anime. I don't know if that's accurate, but I was thinking anime might start taking that place of what kids are
I
getting
think it
super into.
I think it could, because anime is still not super taken seriously within the mainstream film slash well, not even just anime, but animation categorically. I don't think is taken super seriously um as like a serious medium, but for some reason it's okay for children to be super engaged with it. And I think there's a lot of good examples, like the Teen Titans. I was on Cartoon Network was really good.
And that's
A
like DC still.
Even Batman Beyond was really good too, as well. And I think that was like people don't realize how good that actually was. There's a couple videos from Nerdsalgic. I've talked about them before. They did a video on that and how it's really the guys behind that almost set the foundation for what would become the DC cinematic universe.
Yeah,
Like it's really incredible what those artists did for those characters, because they took the old style format and then modernized it and said, okay, this is how we're going to do it for a new audience.
right.
And I think I think that's what we're gonna see is we're gonna there's gonna get a point where there's gonna be a new group of artists, new group of storytellers, and they're gonna be like, we love the foundational things, we've lost sight of the foundation of it, and then they're gonna take their new modern twist on it and revitalize these characters and say, cool, we've reinvented the wheel now,
Right.
and but it's gonna feel so comfortable to the new modern audience that it's not gonna feel foreign at all.
And that just begs the question too, like, how many more variations of Batman can we see before we're like, "All right,"
We're bored of
you
this.
know? Yeah, like how, and it's I'm surprised that we haven't gotten there yet, because even now there's been how many different Batmans? Like, in the
Yeah.
past 20 years, it's been Nolan. Oh, yeah, was Batman
Oh,
in that?
no, sorry, I was thinking of the Joker, you're right. I don't
Okay.
think Batman showed up in that one.
Yeah, I ended up turning that one off, but so I don't
Don't
know.
blame you.
Yeah, that's just whatever. But even Joker, but yeah, what is his
What
name?
it
I can't,
yeah.
Ben Affleck, there you go. Ben Affleck and now Robert Pattinson. It's just, and then I heard Michael Keaton is coming back for some spin-off movie. I don't know exactly what it is.
Really?
But
Wow,
yeah,
okay.
he's gonna reprise his role. And I think it might be for like a Batman Beyond. It might go that
I could
route.
see that, like, you have a kinda like an aged Batman or, like, a mentor figure, Bruce Wayne, teaching
Yeah.
Robin how to be a hero. That would be cool. I think
Yeah.
that could be the way they would do that. You kinda, like, bow out the character and or even like how they did it with Tony with Endgame, right? Like, you somehow make their sacrifice or the symbol of their character a lasting impact on the if you're trying to keep the continuity alive within your cinematic universe, which seems to be like everyone's flavor right now, you can make it a point so you could pass the torch to a younger generation that's uses the title in some way but doesn't. And I actually just heard about recently they're going to be bringing in the character called Ironheart, who's like the successor of Iron Man in the comic books, but her name is Riri Jones, and so she's an African American person who or girl who basically takes up the mantle as Iron Man, but her character is called Ironheart.
That'll be interesting.
And so, from what I read on this article, is that she might be coming in sooner rather than later now as a character in the cinematic universe.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm bought in at this point. You know what I
I
mean?
know we've had too many years of exposure. We're like, cool, well, I'll give it a shot.
Yeah, it's whatever they wanna do, I'm like, "Alright, for sure." Like, I'm with
And then on the serious note too, one thing that I was surprised about, I'm not sure if you saw the trailer for this, but there's a new series coming out for Marvel called Moonknight.
Oh, yeah, Oscar Isaac. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes. And I didn't know too much about this character, but I saw the trailer and I was like, oh wait, this seems dark. So I was already in as soon as I and so as soon as I saw that, I was like, all right, I need to go do some research and figure out about this character. And like the backstory of the character is interesting. He's got a multi-personality disorder. So he's almost like schizophrenic, it seems, but he's also being like somewhat possessed by like an Egyptian god. And so that's how he gets his powers. So
Holy
he's
shit.
like basically on one end he's crazy, on the other end he's got superpowers because of an Egyptian god, and he like is a spirit of vengeance at night. And he gets it's just like a weird thing that is totally left field for Marvel. Like it's closer to like Doctor Strange
That is unique.
territory.
Yeah.
But it's super unique as a character that I was just like, and Oscar Isaac's playing it, and I can't help but be a fanboy of his work because I feel like
Yeah.
we've been talking about his work since Ex Machina at this point.
Yeah,
So
man.
we're bought in on that end.
Yeah, he's easily one of my favorite actors, man. He's amazing. Anything he's in, I'm interested in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, like easily. They should do a spinoff. This is tangent again, but they should do a Star Wars spinoff of whatever that character was.
Oh, Poe Dameron,
Yeah,
the pilot.
yeah. I
I
think
could totally see that.
he deserves a little more screen time. I think just because he's just like such a great actor. Even in Dune, I was like, damn, I wish he was in a little more.
Oh yeah, I
Um,
know.
But yeah, I am just to bring it back a little bit. I really love what's happening with these superhero stuff. I'm curious what the next like major IP, I guess you call it, is gonna be. And oh,
Hmm.
actually, you know what? Since we're talking IP, since we brought that up, I think this was on your and Joe's podcast that you guys did, the most recent one. You guys mentioned IP, and I'm trying to remember exactly what was said. How like studios are getting lazy and they're just regurgitating the same.
Yeah, like nostalgia traps.
Yeah.
Is that what we're
Yes.
talking about?
Yes, and I was when I was listening, I was thinking about that, and I was like, I think that's our fault. Like, not us, not not me and
It's
you.
our generation's fault.
Yeah, yeah, like audiences, because it's gonna keep happening as long as we every time they see $1 billion cross their bank accounts, they're gonna be like, "This works." So let's keep doing. People are coming out. So I find it curious because it's yes, a lot of the same material does get regurgitated. One, it's cool to see the kind of different ways you can tell a story that's been told. But at the same time, if we want original stories, we have to come out in troves to see those original
Yes.
stories. Because studios, it's supply and demand. Studios are going where the money is.
Yeah.
Spider-Man killed it. That's not the end of Spider-Man. Like, even if they planned for it to be the last Tom Holland one, now they're like, I think we can do a couple more.
It's like, hey Tom, you want another paycheck?
Right.
It's there for you.
Right. And he's probably because I'm sure he has a sliding scale, pay scale or something.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So he's probably shit, I'll do 8 more or whatever, you know? So
Yeah, I agree with you. I think honestly, audience, you need to really pay with your dollar, or pay with your attention when it comes to like, streaming platforms. Like, I think there's two ways we can do this. Like, you can start like a channel of some kind, like a podcast, like we're doing here, or YouTube, and you could talk about the things you like, talk about the things you don't like, and hope to God that those publishers or the writers or whoever are paying attention to the people that really care. I actually heard about this recently. I'm not sure if you heard about this, but a lot of like high level executives or writers will have Google alerts for like their things they've worked on, and see where people are posting videos or articles about their work.
oh, I'd
So
never heard.
yeah, so you can basically have a Google alert where you can put like keywords, and it'll
Mhm.
give you like an email and say like new article was posted with these keywords for your like your show or your movie. And so from what I've heard at least is that if you're someone who's like trying to be critical about the things you like or don't like about an IP, you can be talking to the people that really need to hear your words, or really will take your words to heart, but you might not know it. So it's like, do that. If you really care, do that. And they will adjust eventually, or hopefully they will adjust.
If enough people echo the same thing,
Right.
they'll respond to that because it's at the end of the day, everyone's got a bottom line. If everyone got together and said no more superhero movies, they're not going to be like, here's another Batman. Like they're not going to do that.
Right.
Um, but as we see the buzz and how they're all the stuff around the new Batman that's coming out, I'm assuming it's going to do very well. I don't know if it'll meet Spider-Man's level because that was a trilogy. That was the end of a trilogy, so it had a little more momentum.
Definitely.
Um,
Yeah.
but I think it's gonna smash. I think it's gonna be a
Yeah.
box office smash. I think it'll be great. I love the cast. It's I can't the person who plays the Riddler is actually a really good actor too, and I can't remember off the top of my head. Maybe I'll look it up real
I'm
quick.
pulling it up right now.
Oh, for sure.
IMDb. Let's see.
Love that website.
All right. It makes life easy when you can just click and it just gives you a list of who plays what.
Right.
The Riddler is Paul Dano. Hope I
Okay.
pronounced this Dano.
What is he in again?
He is
Oh, yes. Okay. Yeah, dude, this guy he was in There Will Be Blood, Little Miss Sunshine. He plays like a creepy kind of character insanely well.
okay.
Yeah.
But he looks like the Riddler from what I've seen from like the comic books and stuff. He really has that same kind of like what you'd expect the Riddler, like hyper intelligent
right.
sociopath.
Yeah. So I'm so excited for that because that was a casting that I didn't expect. I think it's gonna be great, man. I think it's gonna be so good. But yeah, we'll see where it goes. I'm really hopeful. I'm really excited. I think that idea of having another category is extremely smart and that the
Mhm.
Oscars should look into because even James Bond, that huge IP, just keeps getting remade over and over. I haven't seen it, but what I've heard is that it deserves some recognition. It really
This
deviated
this
from.
last this last one was really good.
Was it? You saw it? You
Yeah,
liked it?
I finally got around to watching it. I just like rented it off of or bought it on I think Amazon is where I ended up watching it, but it really felt like a good homage to the character, or at least to I'm blanking on the actor's
Daniel.
name, Daniel Craig. It was his last role or last time playing the character, so it really felt a passing of the torch for him.
Mm,
And at like for him and James Bond, like the 007 moniker to open it up to a broader category of people because that's where they're heading with James Bond. And obviously it's going to upset people that James Bond will eventually be a female or a non-white person. Things change with the times. That's all I'm
yeah.
going to say there. Like I'm not trying to get into the politics of it, but it's just a character and a character can be whatever it needs to be.
Yeah, because he's at the end of the day, he's not a real person, so people need
Right.
to chill the fuck out. But yeah, I still have to see it. It's on that never-ending list of things to watch. It's on there.
And
But
then
yeah.
I guess the only other thing I want to bring up along the Oscar side of it.
Mhm.
So they brought up a second category that I thought would really be really cool, but would be to have like the best stunt category. Because there's
I thought there was already an award for that.
I don't know. I've heard of like other smaller shows that do like stunt awards, but like
Mhm.
at the big academy level, there's no like high level award for the stunt performers, which is a little unfortunate in my opinion because these stunt guys and I think there was a statement something that they didn't want to promote dangerous activities, but like the role of a stunt performer is that they do these stunts and nobody gets hurt.
Right.
So that's the prerequisite. You did your job so no one got hurt. So if you got hurt during the performance, then you're disqualified for being up for the nomination. That's how you solve that problem. So
Right,
let's
right.
just not I don't know. I just think there's like a lot of films like John Wick, for example. I know you don't care for those movies from a story perspective, but for me, from like a stunt perspective, to me, they're just like a refined version of the kung fu genre
Yeah.
that's now more serious. And
Yeah.
it's cool. Like, why don't we give recognition to all those guys who literally put their bodies on the line to make these sick films?
Right. No, that's a great idea too, and they do deserve more respect than they get, and probably more pay too. I don't know what they get paid, but I'd assume not enough for what they're
Probably
doing.
not. I
Yeah.
mean, they're basically athletes in their off season, and then when they're on set, they're just getting their ass handed to them.
Right. Man, no, that's actually a really good idea because it does having good choreography and stunts really does make or break a movie.
Yeah,
Imagine again, I've only seen a little bit of John Wick and it's not my cup of tea, but imagine in John Wick if the choreography and the fight scenes were just clunky and boring and not like fluid and how beautiful it looks. Like just it
right.
wouldn't be what like you wouldn't care for it. It'd be okay, what is this? You know?
It would just be another generic action movie that you just take it or leave it, and then you're just
Right.
like, "Oh, it's a rainy day. Cool. I guess we'll throw on John Wick," and then you don't ever
Right.
think about it ever again.
Exactly. But, like, you have these fluid movements, and I'm assuming they use long takes because I feel like that usually heightens the tension and, like, the fluidity of the fight scenes, but you can have these quick cuts and just cut and, "Okay, we'll do this, now do this," and you just cut and stitch everything together, and it looks hectic, but is it really impressive? Not as much as when you say, "Okay, action," and you have to perform for 3 minutes straight. Yeah, 100%. I'm surprised that's not a thing, that's actually really shocking. Yeah, yeah, it really sets it apart, right? Because you can cut and stitch stuff all day, and, like, maybe it works for what you're trying to do, but it doesn't amount to when, say, action, and then someone just goes. When you go for however many minutes, 4 minutes, let's just say, and you execute it perfectly. I was bringing up the Northman.
Okay,
The
I
movie
didn't hear
that's
this
coming
part.
out. Okay.
It's the
And
trailer you sent me, right? With the
yeah,
Viking, like hyper realistic looking Viking
yeah,
story.
yeah, man. And it just looks brutal. Like it looks so intense and brutal, and just it's probably gonna be a ride. And there was an interview that Alexander Skarsgård had when he was talking about how challenging doing the fight scenes were. And he was
Hmm.
like, it's 6 minute long takes. And he said when you finished, it felt like you won a Super Bowl or something like, or you won the Olympics or something like that because you got it. And it's just so difficult to do that.
Yeah,
Versus you can, okay, let's just do it 20 times and we'll stitch it together. Okay, maybe you messed up here, but we'll cut it and stitch it. It's
right.
just,
We'll
it
fix it
really
in
sets it
post, right?
apart.
That
Yeah, yeah.
that.
We'll fix it in post. And that's fine for whatever it's worth, but it really is it's more immersive when you have these long takes. Like
Oh
the
yeah,
movie 1917. That movie
I still need to watch
was
that one.
man, God, please watch that movie. It's such an immersive ride. Like it starts and then you're just in it and then it ends. And like
Yeah,
there's no breaks really. But when you have all these cuts, I feel like you can subconsciously, okay, I can relax. So it just really speaks to it. And by the way, I just want to point out if you on IMDb, Alexander Skarsgård picture, he's like not wearing any pants. He's like in a suit top, but no pants at the bottom. It looks like a Zoom call in the pandemic.
that's amazing.
So I was just looking at it. I'm like, what the hell?
Business up top and comfy on bottom.
Right. Oh my god, I didn't expect that. But yeah, man. So they should, and because the Oscars, I know they don't televise every category, but I'm really shocked that they don't recognize that because that's an important aspect of these films, man.
I think it's just everyone wants to get recognized for the things they do, and I know the Oscars were made for a very specific, reason or for specific categories that are different time period even, but I still think it needs to evolve or just adjust with sensibilities of the time period, like
Yeah,
anything else.
yeah, they have to adapt, and that's perfectly fine. You can't hold on to your ways.
But overall, I think it's a cool like what we're doing with all of this. I think we're gonna see. I'm excited for the next year of films as things are going to a more open and we're getting back to the theaters, right? Like I think we might have talked about this right as the pandemic was starting, but we had to consider the fact of like, are theaters gonna die? And I don't think it's going to be 100% honest. Like we touched on this, but Spider-Man was an experience to visit or to see in the theater, and Dune was especially an experience to to be in a theater to experience that story. So I think we'll see going forward is it there might be a different like category we could throw in there, like cinematic or theatrical experience as an award.
Yeah.
There's different reasons to go see a film, right? Like you can watch a Disney film at home and probably have the same feeling you would at the theater.
And I think that's part of the concern, and that's part of the whole debate. A lot of these filmmakers are like, "Oh, these superhero movies are bad and blah blah blah. They're not real cinema." But that's usually where people are going to theaters for. If you have a movie like The Power of the Dog, for example, again, my
Mhm.
pick to win, really great movie, but I watched that at home. I don't even know if it had a theatrical release. And I feel like with movies like that, it's beautifully shot. Like it wouldn't be a bad thing to see it in theaters. But I think it's turning to where people want to be like wowed and have this spectacle, and like when the next Avatar finally comes out somewhere between now and the next 10 years, like that's going to be a theater or a movie that you go to the theater to see, because the first one was like, and I missed the chance to see it in theaters, but from what everyone was saying was that it was just gorgeous, and like the way they did 3D was so innovative and stuff like that. And I think that's where it's switching because of streaming. So people are going to say, do I want to go spend 20 bucks or however many at a minimum to go see
Right.
this movie that I can still get the same experience at home? It does beg the question where like a part of me still is worried about theaters because we only get so many blockbusters a year, like true blockbusters. We're not gonna have a Spider-Man of this year, or because that came out in 2021. So like 2022, there might not be something that big. Doctor
Yeah.
Strange, I think, will be huge. So there's things that'll keep it afloat. But as time goes on, a part of me is worried. But
Yeah.
um,
I think you're right too. Like the biggest negative example I could probably list right now is, oh my God, Matrix,
yeah,
the most recent Matrix. I don't think I would have watched it at all had it not been on a streaming platform at the same time. because it had such a negative perception going into it. And I was skeptical going into it anyways. I had seen people coming out with videos on YouTube talking about the original film, and I was like, yeah. I'm like, I felt jaded before I even saw it.
The same.
Which is that me being fair to the film? Maybe not, but like to me, and I don't know what this is me projecting hardcore, but to me, what it felt like is they basically made that film so bad that it pigeonholed it to not have another film be made.
Yeah. Yeah. It almost seems intentional. I don't know. I
Right.
don't know what happened. Some people
I
really love it. Some people really said it was amazing, and I am like,
I
"I
don't
don't
see it.
get it." Yeah.
I don't see it, but hey, more power to you.
That's cool thing about art. It is subjective at the end of the day. There's no real right or wrong. But yeah, for I was like, "Nah, this ain't for me, dog." Like,
Yeah.
it's a no for me. But no, I hear you, and I might have still went to see it in theaters just because I initially was super excited, and then as it got closer to, like, release, I was like, "You know what? I don't know that this is gonna meet the expectation I have for it," which is fine, and I hope to God theaters survive and they don't change too much or whatever because
Yeah,
I do love the experience. I don't know if you saw Joker in theaters.
I did.
Um,
Yeah. That one was really good too.
yeah, that was an experience that was different than Spider-Man, but still an experience. I was like, I won't forget that.
I think it's something magical with Joaquin Phoenix as a performative actor
Yeah.
because so much of that film is him conveying emotion in subtle ways.
Yeah.
And I don't know where I think I saw a video on it where he has a dance background.
Oh,
And so
really?
that's why he's so good at art, like controlling his face, and like also why I think the dancing portions of that film are so weird. But it's also like why it makes sense for him. And I think they worked with a sound engineer who had the songs ready before the scenes were actually shot.
Oh, so were they, like, playing them?
So yeah, so he would know what was going to be playing
Oof.
during, yeah, so it's like creepy, right? But
Yeah.
it makes, but it like heightens the level of the experience. But I digress. And it's interesting, and I think the last point I want to pull this towards is we talked about the theater changing, but
Mhm.
I think also the caliber that is the show world, like categorically, like shows that are on the streaming platforms. And right now, arguably the biggest one is Euphoria. You've talked about it plenty of times offline with me and Joe, and I just kind of wanted to get your hot take because there's controversy around it. And I think that's kind of what we're talking about with like innovative or ideas that push cultural boundaries and make people respond, and it generates discussion around complex topics is the best way to say it. And I just want you to elaborate on like that, those ideas more broadly.
Yeah. So I'll start by saying this, and I really wish we can do a breakdown series, even if it's like a shorter, if we like do a couple episodes at a time or something.
Yeah, we could definitely do that. I'm totally cool with that.
Yeah. But I was just talking with a coworker yesterday, and it truly is the pinnacle of modern art in its own medium, in the
Hmm.
film, TV medium. It's just so it's dude, it's mind-boggling how amazing this show is on so many different levels. It's not, "Oh, it's really good for this. It's the best dialogue you'll see," or "It's the best this." It's just it's, like, top-notch in every aspect, and it's married together in this super triggering, hard to watch, controversial subject matter that it's literally it's riveting, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
you
it
watch
just
it and
grabs your attention.
yeah, you're glued to the screen, man, and when I say that hour goes by like that, a blur.
Sounds like how
And
Game of Thrones was.
at its peak yeah, like that, but it's more so. It's more
Wow.
so than that because it is triggering, especially for people who, in some ways or another, can relate to some of the issues that characters are going through. I've, spoke with some friends, like, we'll text back and forth about it, and they're like, "Dude, that episode was hard to watch." Like, I had to pause it, and I felt, like, heavy emotions coming up, and I never what they told me is, like, I've never even thought about those feelings I had, but I was suppressing them, and then watching this made me realize there was things I was, like, packing away.
Wow.
It's that to me is what film and TV is supposed to do. Not necessarily you're not supposed to feel bad about a life or yourself
Yeah.
after like maybe that's not the goal, but it's supposed to make you think, it's supposed to make you feel something. And man, it's just it's uniquely shot in a way. It's not just like straightforward, like here we're gonna show you this and let it play out. Everything is like mesmerizing and tranquil and a little bit like hallucinogenic in some senses. It's like very
Mhm.
uniquely shot. So that's one thing. It's trippy in a sense. It's its own thing. So it has its
I get it.
like very unique stylistic components, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just Euphoria. Like you see it and you're like, it's Euphoria. Like,
Yeah, it has its own style of film, and you're like, "Yep, that makes sense."
so then you have that, and it's the direction, the camera work, all that stuff. So that's pinnacle. So that's just one aspect. Then the dialogue is witty, it's snappy, it makes sense. There's subtext in every line. The performers deliver each line with so much conviction
Mhm.
that it's just believable. And the circumstances that these characters are in, the main characters are in high school. They're like 16, 17, maybe 18 years old. And so it's like the stuff they go through, they're like at parties, and these parties are like bigger than some college parties I've ever went to and stuff like that.
Yeah, right?
So it's hard to believe in that sense, but you buy into it by the performances and like how these lines are delivered. And so you have that. It's like the pinnacle of that. And then what they're going through, like addiction and depression. And you have these characters who are like a trans character, and it's not like their storyline isn't necessarily about them being trans. And now it comes up, but it's just a trans character going through this chaos of what they're going through in that world. I don't, man, it's, to me, everyone should watch it. Disclaimer.
Yeah.
It's hard to watch.
Trigger warning or whatever you wanna call it, but
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, man, it really is, to me, what TV is striving to accomplish. But yeah.
no, that's exactly what I wanted you to say because I think there's a lot of people weighing in on it and trying to just broad brush it a little too hard and just pigeonhole it to being like, "Let's trying to glorify drug use and all of these things," and I think that's being unfair to the people behind the story because I think most people know intuitively that doing drugs is not okay, especially doing drugs for minors. Like, really? There's so many people behind the scenes that like approve all this stuff that saying they're just saying that yeah, they're totally pro drug. What? Hold on. Yeah,
They're still missing the point.
right. Like you're just trying to like demonize this thing at surface level because you're not willing to confront the true issue or something like that. And maybe that's me being not fair to them. If we want to actually have real conversations, people are going to get upset. Like if you try to make a show that just tries to stay middle of the road and not really say anything that's going to upset someone, then nobody's going to care. No one's going to stick around and watch it. It's not going to be compelling because it doesn't ask hard questions. So you have to ask hard questions to make something interesting. That's just how it works.
1,000%. You're nailing it. Think of what people pay most attention to, where everyone gravitates towards when there's a divisiveness
Controversy.
and
Yeah.
controversy. That's what people like, the Kanye West, Pete Davidson thing, as
Yeah.
mundane and stupid as that whole shit, like, has nothing to do with anyone's life, but people care about. People pay
One of our
attention.
friends, our local Starbucks here, she posted a photo and they have a jar
Yeah.
for a tip jar. It's a tip jar. It's not anything. And one is for Kanye and one is for Pete Davidson. And it's like, how do you make more tip money? You
Yo.
make two jars and just make people pick.
And guess what? There's fucking money in it, right?
There's money in both of them too. It's not
Both of
that.
them. Dude, whoever thought of that, fucking genius. First
I
of all.
know,
Fucking
right?
genius, man. Um,
It's amazing.
but that just speaks to it. Or like the Joe Rogan stuff. Like you have
Yep.
people on both sides of the fence there. And now it's, if anything, he's more popular than he ever was because of this controversy. So to get people to pay attention, you have to make people uncomfortable in one way or another. Like it's
Oh,
just
yeah.
the nature of the beast, especially dealing with addiction. If you want to talk about addiction in the television or film format, and you want to highlight the issues of addiction and like what people go through, and that they're not perfect and it's not always this and that, and what a withdrawal really looks like, you can't do that and not show a character use drug. Like it just doesn't. How are you gonna do that? You're gonna talk about it. You're just gonna have two people in a room be like, yeah, I really do heroin and it's really hard. Okay, cool. You're gonna do that for 10 episodes? Nah, no one's gonna give a fuck. Like it doesn't work that way. You can't pander to people's fucking feelings.
Right.
Like you got to get to the nitty gritty. I think it was episode 5. Zendaya, I knew she was a good actress, man. But when I tell you this performance she did, I don't think, like, I think I was like jaw dropped like the entire
Right.
episode. Yeah. The performance was out of this world, but it was like she's going through a withdrawal, and I don't want to spoil anything, but like all these different layers of tension that was happening, and then as she's like going through this withdrawal and just being a terrible fucking person, but then it's like she's an addict, so you like sympathize with her. It was one of the best things I've ever seen. Like I put it up there with Ozymandias, and I always bring up Breaking
Really?
Bad, but I'm sorry, but like I always bring it
Hey,
up.
one day, dude, one day we're gonna hit that critical point where we just need to talk about that one episode. You know what I mean?
We do, we do. We should just do we
We're probably already past that point, but
but I mean,
it's okay.
so everyone by now knows that's my pinnacle. Everyone that
Yeah.
listens to me speak about TV knows Breaking Bad to me is like top notch. That episode is rivaling the best episode of Breaking Bad, especially from a performance sense. It was just out of this world, man. But the people who think that, oh, they're glorifying, they don't get it, and they're probably coming into it with too much of a critical eye and looking for something to be upset at. And then they're just latching on to, oh, this makes kids want to use drugs. And I'm like, if you look at Rue, that Zendaya's character, if you look at Rue and say, I want to be like her, holy fuck, are you wrong? You're not supposed to like her. She's not a good person. You know what I mean?
Right.
Um,
Yeah. If you're using her as a base point for a role model, then you're clearly missing the point.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
That makes it interesting, right? Because that's the point of a lot of these characters. Because if you made a character that was like comfortable for people to watch or something like that, or if they weren't, or if they didn't have flaws, then what is the point of the story?
exactly.
Because then the character's inconsequential. You never should have wrote that character ever. Like that character shouldn't have any screen time. I don't know. I don't understand what people want from these characters. It's you almost like they have to be so nerfed around the edges that they just don't make you uncomfortable. I don't know. It just seems weird to me because the point of having compelling stories, like you were saying about Breaking Bad, the premise of the show is not a positive thing. But it's still a really good show.
Right.
It's literally the fundamental question is like, how does a science teacher become a drug kingpin?
Yeah.
And it's fucking interesting as hell. And it's not just like the nitty gritty point of that, but it's the slow descent into hell is what it comes down to. It's you don't become a bad person overnight. You could, but in this sense, it's you don't become the worst version of yourself overnight. It's just slowly making one decision after another that turns you into that kind of person. And I think that's what something like Euphoria is trying to say. It's like doing drugs does not make you a bad person, but it's over time doing something like drugs turns you into someone that you lose all of your friends or all like you lose your soul, I guess, if you want to get even more grandiose about it.
Yeah. No, and that's spot on. It's almost like people want to be uncomfortable because I think most people get that. I don't think that's lost, excuse me, on general audiences.
Mm-hmm.
But it's almost like they want to be uncomfortable, like as long as they're comfortable with it. I'm like, that makes no fucking
Mm-hmm.
sense. It's gonna show
It's
you,
hilarious,
yeah,
actually.
it's gonna show you things that you don't want to see. You know what I mean? No one wants to see that. And on top of it being, I think she's 16. I think the main character is
Okay.
16. But it's just young. You don't want to see that in like a young person and think that might actually be the case. And I'm sure that's not the
Right.
norm, but I bet you there's 16-year-olds out there that are doing fentanyl and all these other
Oh,
drugs.
absolutely. It's not unreasonable to assume it's this life is happening to someone similar to this somewhere in the world.
And they're just blowing it up because that's what film is. You take something that happens in the world and you blow it up to make it so that's what to have a commentary on it, right?
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, you're spot on, and you need to show these characters with flaws, and you can show their arc, whether it's you start good and end bad, or you start bad and end good, or you fall somewhere in between, or something like that. But that's what makes characters compelling, and
Mm-hmm.
that can teach us about ourselves or about the world. You know what I mean? You can see that, and you can find things that you can relate to yourself. Even looking at Rue, I'm not a drug addict, but I can look at myself and see if I let myself go down that path, I don't think I'd be much different. You know what I mean? Like numb to
Right.
things and just you're so focused on just the drug or certain things. I'm speaking trying without spoiling anything either.
Yeah, that's fair. I get
but
it.
but
But yeah, I think you're totally right. Like most people I think assume like when they see something that's so like outside of their worldview, like a drug addict, the first reaction is to say, I'll never let myself get that bad. But what we have to realize is that people like that would believe the same thing. But yet, through some fault of their own, but also not to some degree, because it's like their just whole worldview just gets twisted around that,
Mhm.
they lose themselves. And so passing such hard judgment on those people, I think is doing it a disservice that like they're not flawed insofar as like you're unflawed.
Right.
They're still the same person as you are. You just so happens you didn't have the same circumstances to that's their rock bottom.
Exactly. And I think part of it too is it's showing us how to be compassionate, to look at these
Yeah.
people and be like, like, I said earlier, you're not supposed to like her because she's objectively not a good person. The stuff she says and what she does is that's what a bad person does. But you can still say that's not her and she deserves a path for redemption and for forgiveness and those things. You don't
Mhm.
condemn them, especially someone in that state, because it's not really them, is it? It's the addiction, it's the mental illness at that point. And so I think that's one thing it's showing us. And the show's not, but I don't know, I might have posted this online or I was talking to someone, I forget which, but I was saying, I was like, it seemed like Rue hit her rock bottom. And so there's only one place to go from there. You know what I mean? So I'm like, I think
Yeah.
she's gonna work towards redeeming herself, and it's gonna show us watching this that okay, it's possible to hit rock bottom or fuck up and come back from it. And that's a parallel to what's going on with the Joe Rogan stuff and all this canceling and stuff like that. Is we can look at someone and say, "You fucked up, dude," but that doesn't mean you don't deserve a chance to make it right. You know what I mean? And obviously that differs. People can really fuck up and it's like, whoa, but you know what I mean? But
Right.
like,
Yeah, there's always a line that can be crossed, but that's when jail but it's like we have to remember that it's innocence until proven guilty, not the other way around.
exactly.
It's not guilty until proven innocent. And like intentions and context matter and all of these things. Right. Like broad brushing someone to give a highlight reel of their most negative things, they're going to look like the devil. But the same can be true as finding their highlight reel and being like, look at all the great things they did. Well, yeah, of course.
Exactly.
But now they look like a saint. So it's you can't do that. Everyone's the scorecard is going until you close your eyes for the last time.
Yeah.
That's the way I think about it, right?
Yeah.
Like
Human life isn't fucking binary. Like it's not this or that. There's so much nuance and stuff. So to do that, I'm like, oh, you can. And this isn't to say that the highlight reel, I guess you can call of the bad. That's not saying that it's not bad. You know what I
yeah,
mean? And the highlight reel of the good isn't saying that it's not good, but there's nuance in there and there's things that are in between, and it's still the same person. They can have just as many bad things that they have as just as many good. You know what I
right.
mean? You can look at something as abstract or mundane as look at a fucking athlete. You can look at LeBron James. If you pull up a highlight reel of all the times he's fucked up in a game, you can find
Right.
just as many, if not more, of all the times he did well, and then you can abstract that together and say you come up with LeBron James, and you could make your decision based on that.
I think honestly one of the best examples of this in modern times is Steve Jobs and like how his life was. Because it like on in many categories, at least in like the businessman aspect, he was a certifiable genius. But in his personal life and other categories, he really wasn't the best dude. Or maybe being like his friend or working with him super closely, that was not fun for a lot of people.
Yeah,
And I think at the end of his life, he come to terms with that stuff. And I think that's the story. We all have these things that we are working on constantly, and they're like our little demons that we know we shouldn't do to other people, but we do them. And it's not until at the very end that that's maybe just maturing or growth or whatever. But it's like we're constantly failing in something, I guess.
I'm constantly succeeding at the same time.
Yeah.
It's just like,
The irony.
but there's probably people out in the world who I've met at one point or another, and they fucking despise me. You know what I mean? For whatever
Mhm.
reason, whether it's maybe I didn't intend to, maybe I ignored them, or whatever the situation is. They might be like, yeah, I don't like that guy. Like I don't like him.
Yeah.
And the opposite is probably true too. People who met me and probably, oh, he's a great person. That neither are incorrect and neither tell the whole story. There's
Yeah.
so much more than that. I just am who I am, and I'm trying to be the best version of myself. And I think that's what people have to remember. That at the end of the day, people are just trying to do well in whatever terms that means to them. They're trying to be the best
Yeah.
version of themselves, and we're trying to live a life that we're happy with. And we're gonna fuck up along the way. We're gonna get it wrong. That's just fucking. There's a
Yeah.
lot. There's way too many possibilities and potential outcomes and pathways of life that you can go down that you're not gonna hit it right every time. You're gonna
Yeah.
miss.
And especially too, if we all tried to stop ourselves and think like what I'm going to say next and say the thing that's going to annoy the least amount of people. The only way I would do that is by stopping the recording right now and never saying what I was going to say. So at some point, we just have to say what we think is the right thing to say in the moment and say, we'll see what people respond. And if it is more negative, then you have to come out and apologize in a sincere way. And then you move on and say, okay, thank you for the feedback. But also,
Right.
you can't hold that. You can't like crucify me for not being able to run the experiment and say, oh, so this is the 100% optimal thing to say, because that's just not how life works.
Exactly. Exactly. It's just. I think that's what, in a way, that's what Euphoria, I think, is aiming to show. And they did a really good job of portraying this already with one of the characters. It's the dad of who seems to be the antagonist is his father.
Yeah.
I won't say too much, but he had his not a redemption, but like an eye-opening moment, and you sympathize with him. And he's objectively, to what we've seen, not a good person. But then you
Mhm.
like get where he's coming from, and you're like, ah, damn. And then at that point, just that, oh man, and you sympathize at that point.
Yeah.
You say, okay, this person has a pathway.
When it breaks through and you're like, God damn it.
Yeah, but they have a pathway to say, okay, maybe they are still a person and have the chance to still make it up or fix things. And it's those kind of things that shows like this show us
Yeah.
that we shouldn't say, oh, ban this show because it's glorifying drug use. You're so missing the point. Like, you're so missing the point. And it's unfortunate. I
Yeah.
pray those
Well,
people
I
go back.
also think too, just like trying to make ideas off limits in general. We grew up in the 90s, so we were spearheaded by the Dare movement and things like that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't think that stuff ever made me think, I don't think I'm gonna do drugs. Not even a little bit.
I've never.
Like, like when you try to like, in quotes, brainwash someone to say these are bad, then that almost makes people more interested to go actually try it for themselves and make their own opinion up, rather than just being told it's gonna rot your brain, kid, or it's a gateway and you're gonna whatever. It's like the other category is when the one school board tried to ban the graphic novel Mouse, which
Mhm.
is about the experience and life of a man who survived concentration camp. When they tried to ban the book, it became a bestseller
Yeah.
on Amazon. It broke like the top 100, and I don't think you can even still buy it right now. I tried to look it up to see if I could buy it.
Sold out. Yeah, it's sold out of print, man.
It just sold out because now all of a sudden it's, oh wait, you're trying to ban that? I'm gonna make sure that I have a copy of that so that I can make my own mind up. And so to me, like the only way you can ever truly get to the bottom of the truth of some sort is by leaving everything open and hoping that the best ideas will hit at the top of the bell curve, right? And then the ideas that are not good are on the way on the outskirt, and only there's always going to be some fraction of people that believe those crazy things, but you just got to hope that people will find their way to the best or most optimal way of living.
Yeah, and that's all you can hope for. It's tough to navigate because,
There's so much information.
yeah, there's so much information and there's so many different ways to view this, right? Like, people should be able to say and discuss whatever, right? That period. But with that, you're gonna get some shit that you're like, damn, you need to shut up. You know what I mean? Like, you need
Yeah.
to stop talking. But it's let them talk, man. And I feel like by trying to censor that or keep them from talking, you're gonna get people who want to hear what they have to say. Just
Yeah.
let them talk. And if you just let them be like, no, I'm gonna let you finish. Just let them
Right.
go off. People are gonna be like, don't look up. I think articulated this perfectly. You let them talk for long enough. All you have to do is look up, and you're like, hey, what the fuck? There's a fucking. You just see
Yeah.
it. It's
Right.
just like it becomes clear. So give them the space that they need to look stupid.
Exactly. Let people, or let the, not even let people, but let the idea speak for itself. And if it's stupid, then over time it's just be like, oh, what are we talking about here? Like, then people just stop paying attention. Like, people are like, okay, really? We've been over this 30 times now. We're still talking about this. You can go over there in your little corner and have fun with your crayons. We'll be over here Like whenever you're done dropping those ideas and want to rejoin, you're cool. But as long as you're doing that over there, you do you, but we're fine.
Yeah. Like
Like that's no censorship needed. They censor themselves.
right. Exactly. And it's so I get it. I can see the other side, and some things are damaging, but we have to be able to discern what is truthfully malicious versus what is.
Yeah. I
And
think it
then
comes down to sorry, I'm cutting you off, but it's not teaching people what to think, but teaching people how to think.
yes, yep, and they'll come up with solutions on their own, and
Mhm.
we'll only hope that it's something that is in line with whatever truth is or righteousness is or whatever you want to call it, and that's all we can hope for. And I feel like if you do that, you're doing a good job. The goal for film and TV, I don't think, is to give people an answer. It's to just ask the question. Maybe you're asking a leading question. Maybe you're like, okay, I'm going to show you this, and this is where what I want you to think, but you don't tell them that. You don't say, at the end of the episode, you say, this is what you're supposed to think. You don't do that. You leave it open
Yeah.
ended and let people come to their own conclusion. And that's what's fucking beautiful about art, because people learn to think for themselves, and you have all these different variations of one thing that you saw. It's one thing, it's a fucking tangible thing that was created, and you can have 50 different interpretations of the one thing. And
Oh
it's
yeah.
all fucking amazing.
I actually really enjoyed about doing all these deep dives and things now. I've like found all these cool cool YouTube shows that just go deep on different aspects of the film world and just take their unique viewpoint of like what works and what doesn't work for different things. And you're like, oh wow, like here's all these really cool and like people that take it serious. Like here's my interpretation of what's going on with all these different things that people create. And I think it's at least thinking about it from a creator's perspective, that is exactly what I would want if I was like a showrunner or director or writer or an actor of like people trying to remix my idea and try to understand it at a deep level. What does this say about humanity?
And I feel like you've won. If you can do that
Yeah.
and get people talking, you've done it. And that's the point. And you may piss people off like Euphoria, and I feel like if you do, you're probably even closer to the truth, because you're hitting something, if people are getting bothered by it because it's making them,
Yeah.
oh, I don't like this. But if everything's fucking topsy turvy and shit, like, cool, it's not gonna make anyone think. It's not gonna be It's not gonna be impressionable.
So I'm going to give myself homework and I'm going to say it here on recording so that and then by the time you're home, we'll try to record an episode or two, just talking like season 1 stuff so that we can start doing this pseudo breakdown, because it's just been a lot of fun to talk about honestly good shows and especially things that don't pull punches.
Yeah, I hope we do. I really love it. I can't. I've said enough good things about it.
Yeah, I
I
know,
just
right?
really love it. I'd love to break it down. I think outside of all the other subject matter or whatever, like genre wise, it really is bringing up important points about how to view people in the world,
Yeah.
and that we can all benefit from it. And it's not over yet, so I don't know where it'll end up. And I feel like I say this a lot, but it's moving its way into being something that I'm like, this might be the most important piece of television ever. Really.
Yeah, it's cool.
We'll see where it ends. I might change, like when this series finishes, I might say something different, but I don't think that'll
In its
happen.
current state, you're happy where it's going?
Yeah. Yeah. I look
Nice.
forward to Sundays, football. I love football, but I'm almost looking forward to it just as much as football, just because a new episode comes out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's one of the most fun things is like when you see, oh, new episode out, and you're like, oh boy, here we go.
Oh yeah, you're like, all right, sit
Yeah.
down, you get your food,
Yeah.
whatever you do, oh man. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally get that. And honestly, I like wrote an outline for all of this today to things you wanted to talk about, and we like talked about everything and then
Oh yeah.
more. So this is been a jam-packed episode of all the things.
Oh
We
yeah.
definitely we're like long overdue talking about the broader scope of all the things.
Yeah. No, we are definitely.
I think we'll leave it at that. We're just about an hour and a half. So
For sure.
a lot of ground covered in this one. I'll make sure that in the show notes I cover all the things from different shows we mentioned to movies to watch or trailers for movies yet to be released. But yeah, it's fun times and always more interesting things. There's a ton of movies coming out this year already.
Oh my God.
Between Jurassic Park is the other big one that I saw. That's not going to be like award winning, maybe from a VFX standpoint, possibly, but I'm tempering my expectations. The Matrix,
Yeah.
but I am glad they're bringing back Alan Grant and the original actor. Like it's
Oh,
the new
shit.
meets. Yeah, like in the most recent trailer, they have Ellen Grant, Jeff Goldblum. Oh, what's her name? The lady paleontologist. Oh my lord,
I don't know her name, but Laura Dern is
that's the actress's name, but I forget her character's name. But she's back in it too, which is at least from a nostalgia thing. I know we were talking about this earlier, but from the nostalgia point of view, it pushes all the right buttons for me.
Oh man, that's dope. I wasn't
So
excited
and it's
for
and
it.
it's an ending. They actually came out and said it's like the conclusion to Jurassic Park. So
Okay.
I'm glad they're drawing the line in the sand and saying
No
this
more.
is it.
Yeah. Okay.
And I'm excited by that. And then actually we just saw the first look of images, I believe, for season 4 of Stranger Things,
Oh yes. There's gonna
which I'm even more excited because they're doing it in 2 parts.
Mhm.
So that is going to be really fun. And just seeing original creators like the brothers, I forget the name.
Yeah, I think the book I have is right here. I can't see it, but yes, they're brothers.
Yeah, but just seeing those guys who just created something so wholly original that almost feels like a Spielberg-esque film from the 80s and it latched on here in the 2000s or mid 2000s. It's pretty cool to see how that story is culminating and it's going toward an ending. I'm just excited by things that people aren't trying to turn into a brand that exists forever. Where you have a story, you tell your story really well and then you move on. I think
Exactly.
that I think we need more of that.
Has to conclude. It can't just go on forever.
It has to have a point.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
So, as always, fun times, Jordan.
Absolutely, man. Peace.